Okay, let's start. Um, welcome to the to our session, giving impressions from CES 2024 in Las Vegas earlier in January. Uh, Welcome for joining us. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Um, we had an extensive 롤란버거 team at the show in Las Vegas, and we wanted to give you a little bit our view, our impressions, what we saw, what we found interesting, what were the trends. Thank you for joining us for this webinar. And full disclosure, we're going to record and transcribe the webinar. If you go to the next page, what we did when we went through there, we were thinking about what can technology do. CES is a technology show, it's a coming together of curious minds about newest trends, newest products, newest technologies, and what can technology do not only in our business and in our work, but what can it do for our planet? What can it do for our lives, and what can it do for our future? All those things coming together. Um, my name is Falk Meissner. I'm a senior partner with 롤란버거. I lead our Advanced Technology Center. I brought with me 4 friends and colleagues. I want to introduce them by themselves, and then we'll get into it, and we'll go through the topics and give you a little bit our reflections. Admittingly, it's a bit subjective. That's our view, and we invite the discussion after we go through a few thoughts on our side. Konstantin.
Thanks, Falk. Hello, everybody. Konstantin Sharginski, partner with 롤란버거 in Detroit, working in our automotive practice. Stefan.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stefan Thiel, partner from Germany. I am in charge of our consumer electronics and white goods business. Happy to be here and share our thoughts.
Michelle.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Michelle Drew Rodriguez, a partner out of the Chicago office. I lead the operations platform for the Americas, and happy to be here. Thanks for joining, Andrew.
Hello, my name is Andrew Yi from Seoul office, South Korea. I'm in charge of the Advanced Technology Center in Korea and Asia, as well as the industrial platform. Very nice to meet you.
Okay, Konstantin, take it away.
Well, great. Thanks, Falk. So a few impressions from the show. Things kind of ranging from maybe a little bit of longer term and things that are basically happening now. Starting with the keynote from Siemens about their metaverse and their venture into digital space. To me, to be honest, the most remarkable thing about it is how the industrial giant of the 20th century is jumping into the digital playfield, developing solutions for digital twins, and basically focusing on what they know best in product engineering and improving product engineering. I will admit that my other examples that really impressed me are very biased towards automotive, as I come from the automotive space. And a few things that I found really exciting, things that are apparently coming very soon. Let's start with the e-corner module by Mobis. Hyundai Mobis presented its concept called Mobion. And the e-corner module is a unique chassis solution that basically allows steering of all 4 wheels individually. And you can imagine what kind of cool solutions it can allow. It can allow you to parallel park, literally parallel park. It allows you to very easily back into spaces. It allows you to make a 360-degree turn on one spot, and many other cool features. But it also increases efficiency when you're actually driving on the highway and trying to change lanes. So this is one of the things that's most exciting about this is actually that this seems to be coming relatively soon, as I heard claims about kind of pre-production status of this concept. Another thing maybe falls also a little bit in this direction. There were a lot of companies, including Valeo, who presented solutions for the front of the vehicle using LED lighting. and finding really unique use cases for this LED lighting, from kind of explaining what the vehicle is doing right now to warning pedestrians. And those kind of solutions were presented by a multitude of companies. So I think we can expect to see very cool and unique front lighting in the industry very soon. And maybe one last example that is a little bit more further out, but nevertheless extremely cool. The purpose-built vehicle concept that was presented by Kia, where they had thought about really unique cases in mobility that will exist and what kind of new solutions would be required. And I hope that you either saw videos or were able to actually see the presentations online that included very cool things like exchange of bodies on those vehicles, where Kia did not just try to commonize the platform, but try to create a lot of unique solutions that will be easily used by multiple users. I'm going to hand it over to Andrew.
Okay, I will briefly talk about the sustainability related observations. The sustainability related technologies were once again very much part of the CES this year. And most significantly, hydrogen was back in the spotlight. For example, Hyundai Motor Company shared its plans to expand its products and services across the entire hydrogen value chain. They highlighted plans to generate hydrogen from organic waste and confirmed production of the next generation fuel cell SUV called Nexo, and showcased stationary fuel cell power generator for industrial use, as shown in the picture. And Forvia's innovation in hydrogen tank was also noteworthy. Today's hydrogen fuel tank is cylindrical shaped due to the extremely high pressure that the tank needs to withstand. And Forvia has developed a rectangular tank that allows to be installed on the same space as the EV batteries, which provides the increased design flexibility for automotive OEMs while increasing the space efficiency and reducing cost at the same time. There were also many hydrogen-powered trucks on display this year, including Hyundai's Exient and Kenworth truck using the Toyota's fuel cell, and Nikola truck powered by Bosch's fuel cell. While the battery EVs dominate the passenger segment, many still support the hydrogen as a viable clean fuel alternative, especially powering long-haul heavy-duty trucks. It was also interesting to note that Bosch, who showcased the fuel cell technology in the Nikola truck, is also working on a hydrogen combustion engine to be launched later this year. The second trend was that there were some very interesting technologies that allow us to capture resources and energy efficiently within our daily lives. Company called Exever showcased a solar cell called Powerfoil that is flexible and available in various fabric textures. The cells can be seamlessly integrated into the wearable devices in the ways that are naturally blends into the designs. The picture you see here shows the headphone by Adidas, where the Powerfoil fabric is integrated into the strap. Similarly, Ambient Photonics introduced a highly efficient solar cells, but this is 3 to 5 times more efficient in light harvesting than similar products on the market today. This is significant because it could potentially eliminate the need for AA batteries in your remotes, mouse, and keyboards, as well as many small IoT devices that you might have in your house. And Genesis Water Cube was also very clever. This is able to generate 100 gallons of water per day out of thin air in 60 to 70% humidity environment. Basically, this is a giant dehumidifier with water filters, but when paired with a home-installed solar power, you can basically secure a sustainable and independent clean water supply at your own home. So that was very interesting. So finally, there were some plethora of portable energy storage solutions showcased by various vendors with improved portability, affordability, and scalability than what has been available in the market. So with recent increase in energy prices globally and battery costs going down, the suppliers expect the demand for such products to grow significantly. And many of these companies also offer a very simple to install portable solar panels to go with the system. And wide adoption of this kind of products can go a long way in enabling a more reliable and resilient power grid, as well as reaching the decarbonization goals of many jurisdictions. So I believe this is an important trend to note at this year's CES in terms of the sustainable technology trends. Next, Stefan.
Super. Thank you, Andrew. So in that sense, the consumer electronics part of the show, Andrew already alluded to a few, but from my point of view, was actually quite an interesting setup. You'll see a rotation of pictures going around, but I want to drive out three key elements that I took away from CES that I'm going to share with you guys. So they kind of also layer on top of one another. First, we had sort of what I consider the base layer, so the incremental innovations we had seen. Then I'd like to touch upon smart home, and then the third one, which I found this time at CES really quite interesting, was biohacking, if you like, or sort of at least in the broader terms of biohacking. Now, on a base layer, we did see an increase in the efficiency, in the setup, in the features that come with our general consumer electronics. Most notably, from my point of view, were the transparent screens you can see on TVs. Right, so literally it was a see-through. LG, Samsung both had elements on that. QLED, high resolution, big wall screens, but completely see-through, close to going to holographic. Of course, that was paired with lots of gaming elements that we saw a lot of sort of VR goggles that were coming a bit more mainstream, lots of gaming things that came. But in essence, that sort of next evolution curve, the most relevant from my point of view, was the issue of transparent screens. Now, interestingly, together with that came lots of software around digital content creation. All marketing managers out there, the Sony virtual recording studio or production suite actually is quite interesting, where it allowed you to do lots of digital content fairly easy. Obviously looking into, for all of you marketing people out there, looking into increasing efficiency and broader ranges of material to go out and go out to consumers and clients. So I thought that was quite interesting. On top of that, what I thought this year was much more visible in terms of what we see was the smart home element. On the one hand side, we see that the CSA standard Matter is becoming a bit more widely adopted across the entire ecosphere. So we see a lot more interoperability, which I think will usher in a new wave of connectivity in the home, smart home, becoming a little more at the forefront from my point of view. So that was highly interesting. On top of that, when we look into smart home, there were two things that I found noticeable. One, and they're both driven by AI. One is the issue of robots at home. Samsung's Valley, for instance, would be a good example, but LG also had one. The interesting thing there is it's not just Alexa supercharged, but actually because of the LLMs, you actually can have a bit more of a dialogue, and it's a bit more autonomous than just following basic instructions. Right, so I think that is something that will change the way in which we use these tools. And the second one, which I thought was broader, is food wastage. So CES had quite a bit of showings on how to reduce food wastage, and that was across the B2C and B2B world, whether it was scanners that recorded portion size at schools or in canteens, or the way you use food that's in your fridge, all geared towards reducing food wastage. In that sense, a topic of our times, being a bit more self-efficient, if you like. And the third one that I found this time of CES much, much bigger and for me personally vastly exciting, and I think there was a question to this afterwards as well, is I don't want to call it biohacking, but it was the feature set that is going into wearables and the scope in which wearables are now being used. There's Withings BeamQ here, for instance, which was sort of your classical thermometer, but now as electrocardiogram, sort of has lots of other things on that. So that is coming on the one hand side. Then you had BodyFriend, which sort of comes out of the medical sort of setup and moves into massage setups. But again, that in all about increasing performance tracking and using apps and making sure that works. So I thought that was quite big, and especially that measuring of body performance was quite evident, both classical CE manufacturers as well as people like Dassault, who obviously are more in a B2B environment. And finally, one topic I've been passionate about for years, mild to severe hearing loss. A massive societal problem. You can see lots of consumer electronics players trying to, specifically in the headphone business, trying to do something here, sort of getting across away from the stigma of hearing loss. EssilorLuxottica now with glasses, having beamforming mics and batteries in and sensors in the glasses that act as hearing device or hearing support elements, a tendency or a chance to sort of really change that issue in terms of health. And finally, interestingly, with the LG Bird ZZ, you notice I'm very passionate about this, and I'm almost at my 4 minutes. But that was for me really interesting because it doesn't just track brain waves, but it plays in dynamic binaural sounds, which can reduce heart stress, which can reduce stress levels in sleep. Now, the latency currently only allows you really to do it in sleep. We'll probably see next year something that has it in a daily operations, but that was something I found really quite fascinating, and that's going to drive us a bit further on that. But with that, I'll Michelle, I'm so sorry, I talk too much. Please excuse my enthusiasm.
I think everyone enjoys when you chat, so no issues at all. Now kind of turning to more of the future elements, what I find most interesting about CES, for those of you that haven't attended before, I find it most interesting kind of the year over year. I've been attending CES for a decade, and so kind of seeing the evolution of and revolution in some cases of the technology itself and where and how the use cases are playing out, as well as the levels of investment. So I think on a yearly basis, it provides a really great forum for your companies to kind of get a pulse on what is happening in the industry that you are in, as well as the adjacent industries and other industries, and how these technologies, truly are reshaping and converging in nature, and therefore converging industries as well. So a great place to kind of zoom out and get that pulse, and then zoom in and really, there's a lot of tangible, practical things that are coming to market too. So it all depends on how you're consuming CES, but this lay of the land is a little bit a nod, at least, to the futuristic elements. So I'll start with the upper left, Walmart. So Walmart has been at CES before, but this was definitely, they stepped up their presence quite a bit. So their CEO, Doug McMillon, spoke on the main stage. He really talked about the future of retail, and then they had a very sizable presence outdoors. They essentially kind of recreated a storefront, including kind of their supply chain aspects as well. And they really talked about how technologies like broader AI, Gen AI, AR is how they really imagine reinventing the future of retail. So they talked about this Gen AI search experience that is much more experiential. So you could just literally say shopping for Super Bowl, and then it would pull together an assortment of things based off of your preferences that you would likely purchase for a Super Bowl party, for those of you in the US and abroad that like football. They also talked about in-home replenishment. So the use of, again, AI and decades of replenishment experience to really enhance the experience and getting the right items at the right time delivered to your refrigerator or your kitchen or garage. Doug, again, during his main stage speech, spoke a fair amount about drone delivery. So they are more than testing it out. In particular, here in the U.S. in Dallas-Fort Worth, 75% by the end of 2024, I believe he indicated 75% of the Dallas market, which is a larger metropolitan market. They would essentially be able to deliver within 30 minutes to 75% of the homes. So they are taking things like drone delivery and not just talking about it, but doing things about it. And then in the storefront itself, they talked a lot about kind of the supply chain in order to enable these, right time, right items at a quick and expedient pace. So really interesting concepts and practical aspects that they're rolling out in terms of the future of retail. Second, I'd talk about Hyundai. So this is one of those flying taxis that you see. It was there at CES. There's obviously other companies as well, but I personally thought the Hyundai one kind of stole the show for CES. And it's part of the Hyundai Supernal Air Mobility division. So for those of you that aren't aware, this division is funded $1.2 trillion investment that they're making into air mobility. So I know everyone thinks again that it's futuristic, but whether it was other aircraft manufacturers in years past, Uber has been involved. Flying taxis have been at CES for a number of years, but this one in particular I thought was quite interesting. They're testing with FAA by the end of the year and expect to be in market by 2028. And I guess one side note about Hyundai, I think Hyundai overall in the past few years it's been interesting to see the diversification. So you've heard some of my other speakers speak about whether it's the Boston Dynamics acquisition and all that they're doing in robotics, if it's the Mobis and kind of the broader mobility aspects, whether it's Supernal and air mobility. I think Hyundai as a whole, and years past, a fairly sizable marine presence. They are very actively at CES, and you can see kind of the wide spectrum that they're starting to play in as well. Third, I thought it was interesting, the gesture and neural aspects of device control. So you can see the smartwatch on the left that really takes gestures and essentially a mouse on your wrist, for lack of a better term. It's really advancing, whether it's facial or body gesture and doing more things through gesture technology. And then the earbud there on the right, that actually takes neural, so it takes brain waves and acts upon it. So those were both in Eureka Park. For those of you that haven't attended CES, Eureka Park is kind of the startup community. They have different countries and different technologies that they showcase. So again, in addition to kind of the main stage and the main pavilions, there's definitely a strong startup community as well. I'll go quickly because Stefan, I'm going over the 4 minutes more than you are. So I'll go quickly on the next three. So on the left, the AI native high performance computing, I think it's really interesting to see as we talk about the proliferation of AI, there's things like high performance computing that are going to enable that, right? And so this example specifically has high performing computing power of the equivalent of national labs. And they do it in a very sustainable way with cooling mechanisms to reduce the energy power that it takes to process and consume. So that's for those of you techies, I thought that was really quite interesting. The HoloBox communication device. So this gives an idea of kind of the immersive hologram technology. So it's really revolutionizing the way people interact with digital content, whether that's use cases. They brought up hospitality and travel, as well as healthcare, retail, entertainment, events, education, and more. So really kind of that metaverse and not having to be physically present to interact. And then last but not least, robotics. So this is one example. Mirakai is more of a robotics robot. This instance was hospital-based, so working with nurses to transport goods to patients. You can't see it, but the face, it recognizes facial expressions and real time expresses back. And so it's really interesting to see how the robotics field has evolved as well at CES. So those are just a few glimpses from my impression, and I'll turn it back to Falk to conclude.
Yeah, thank you for all to all four of you for your views. And as said, it can be very subjective. You walk along the show, you see something that is interesting, and then you immerse yourself in the experience. And quite frankly, that's also the idea of a show like that. So when we were thinking about it, how do we talk about CES? How do we talk about the show? And we were thinking about our dimensions of our future, our lives. What do we do for the planet? What do we do for work and business? I mean, in the end, and we're trying to understand what are the underlying technology trends. Because in the end, it's a technology show. Where we ended up really is that there's quite a bit of convergence going on. We have. If you look at these different technologies, a few things stick out, and they're true for all of them. The first one is, of course, AI has been a big topic. AI is not really a new topic. There have been theses and themes there that are production ready, if you think about autonomous driving. But of course, generative AI, generative language models, is a new aspect that goes into all those aspects of our life. Technologies that are interoperable and are constantly connected. I think you're not going to find any technology at CES that is not somehow connected, somehow prides itself that it works with other technologies. We're going to see that as well, and it's going to be one of the fundamental needs you have to have in your products, in your offerings, to be able to tie into this world. The topic of sustainability comes through everywhere. Everywhere we're trying to either generate energy better, use energy better, or not, or try to avoid the generation of energy in ways that are not sustainable, and not only energy but also materials, uses of any natural or other resources. And of course, as we saw a lot around the human experience, very human-centric. Even one of my impressions was that when people think or talk about their cars, which are usually done to move you from A to B, what's much more in the foreground now is the digital experience you're going to have while you're sitting in it. So it's this aspect of, we're trying to take care of ourselves with this technology, which stuck out for us. So in that respect, it's really kind of a helix wrapping around those four aspects of our lives and coming together then. That was kind of the presentation part of the show. I think in the forefront of this presentation, of this event, we got a few questions, or quite a few questions actually. We tried to group them into kind of natural kind of groups where we're going to go through that. We're bringing on Scott to help us a little bit to moderate that part. He is a consultant in our Chicago office who has been fundamental for preparing this event. So give him a shout out, please. And Scott, take it away and guide us through. And if you have other questions, I think there's a question box. You can type them in. We'll see that we can answer a few, depending. We have a lot of people on the phone here. Scott.
Yeah, thanks, Falk, for having me. Excited to speak with you all today. As Falk said, my name is Scott Schenkelberg. I'm a senior consultant here at 롤란버거 in our Chicago office, working in both our Advanced Technology Center and our capital goods practices. We had many questions submitted ahead of time, so thank you all for sending those in. And as Falk mentioned, there should be a Q&A box that you can drop additional questions in if anything that you heard sparked your interest or you're curious about something else and you want our experts to dive a little bit deeper. But with that, we'll begin with some of the questions that we received. And Falk, since you were hosting this wonderful webinar, we'll kick this off with you. And we'll ask you, for which of the trends and ideas that you experienced or saw at CES, did you feel that the physical presentation was the best way of capturing the public's attention?
Yeah, thank you. Well, so my impression is that you're not going to CES because you want to read up on the latest wireless standard. This is actually not a technical conference, at least not on its a few layers down on its surface. I think you're going there for two aspects. One is experience the application. If you want to showcase something at CES, you need to make the benefit of your technology, the impact of your technology, into an experience I can see, I can touch, I can feel, I can look at, to really understand and make it practical why this is interesting, why this is relevant. The second aspect, quite frankly, to going to CES, at least for me at this point, is I want to meet people there. Once you go for a few times, you meet people, you know your people. Of course, you know, everybody wants to meet customers, clients, arrange for business. Yeah, this is not a show which is for fun, even though everybody says, oh, you're going to Las Vegas. It's actually very, very tiring because everybody who goes there has lots of meetings. And I think really that is the key point of going there. You want to meet the relevant people, and quite frankly, a little bit also, you want to be seen at the right event. So if you go there, make sure that you get an invite to any of the award shows or other company parties, so that your clients, your customers see you and to become part of the ecosystem.
Thanks, Falk. Yeah, there's so many meetings going on throughout the event and so many things drawing your attention different ways. I think every booth trying to say, look over here. And I think one of those things that really was on the public's mind and people were wanting to know about is AI hype or not? And Konstantin, let's send this question over to you.
Thanks, Scott. Let me try giving a very simple and blunt answer to a pretty complex question. If somebody asked you whether AI is all hype or not, I would give them an answer that they're probably falling behind. We have seen some really in-depth implementation cases, some unique cases that have great efficiency potential, improving processes, creating new cost structures, giving true competitive advantage to companies that are implementing it. And companies really fall on a very long range of maturity when it comes to AI. There are those pioneers who have implemented many of those use cases, who are getting really familiar with the technology, and there are those companies who are still asking this question. So I hope that gives a pretty clear answer.
Yeah, it's definitely a complex topic and a lot of new ideas coming up with how we can use it. And I think we have a few reports published on this topic that maybe dive in a bit more detail when we have more time. And Michelle spoke about the kind of high performance computing that will support AI and advances in machine learning. And with that, we need a lot of new hardware and software to go along with it. So Andrew, where do you think we'll see a lot of these advances in innovation around the electronics or hardware space in the next 2 to 5 years?
So the question is where is it the software or hardware where the next innovations will come? So, and my answer would be that I believe it's really difficult to separate the two and say more innovations will come from either one software or hardware, because I think they are in a very symbiotic relationship with one another. You know, on the software side, I mean, we cannot talk about software without AI anymore. And I think we're just scratching the surface of the potentials of the AI. And as the AI gets more powerful, this fuels and accelerates the innovations on the hardware side as well. So I think, for example, like, you know, one of the next big things that are being anticipated on the hardware side is quantum computing, computing, for example. As more powerful AI tools are applied in developing the process, I think the commercialization of the technology may come much sooner than anticipated. Now, and then when the quantum computing power arrives, and it is coupled with AI again, then it will be difficult to kind of imagine what kind of innovation would be possible then. So I would say that software, mainly AI, will fuel the innovation on the hardware side and vice versa. And I feel that we are at the brink of witnessing innovations in all areas of our lives at a whole another level.
Great, thank you. And CES will probably be the place to see a lot of those innovations take place. So make sure for everyone who's on the webinar, you find a way to attend in the coming years. There's sure to be a lot to come. And switching topics a little bit toward the sustainability angle, Stefan, did the topic of sustainability make kind of a broader impact across the consumer electronics landscape?
I'd say yes, indeed, it did, Scott. I have to say, and it's interesting to see how broad that impact was and how many or how multifaceted it was. On the one hand side, I mean, if you look into Samsung, Kia, and Hyundai, the amount of emphasis they placed on sustainability on their booths, right? The entrance pretty much in all three big conglomerates was fully driven by sustainability. Either was how to generate or how to get sort of raw materials out, how to use the circularity of the system on the one hand side. So I thought that had a very big and had a very prominent sort of approach. Also in a lot of the products we saw, and that was more on the industrial side or on the automotive side. If we look into Samsung again, there was also the element of raw materials, but be it Samsung, LG, Sony, a lot of the other players had specifically in the consumer electronics element two components. One was very much, as I spoke about earlier, food usage, right? So there was a lot of case in terms of not just what energy consumption do I have in the machine and where do I use the raw materials for its manufacturing. So that was very prominent, but also how does the consumer electronics piece that I have, how does it make sure I, as a person, am able to act a little more sustainable? Now, admittedly, it certainly had a view on our more developed economies in that sense where power and for refrigerators and what have you not are a little more predominant or a little more widely dispersed. But in essence, I thought that was actually very, very visible on how that theme came across a lot of well, pretty much all CE players. Yeah.
Great. And yeah, nice to see that it's not just a niche kind of trend, but really gaining that widespread adoption and companies are buying into it. It's really that everyone is trying to make a difference around the world and try to act sustainably. Michelle, let's send this one to you for kind of what do you consider the breakthrough point in the conference? I mean, if any, it's certainly possible that we just saw a continuation of things from last year.
So I'd say, one aspect that from my personal point of view, I found this year, the pendulum had been moving, I'd say over the past decade from a truly consumer electronics show to kind of a broader mobility. And now I'd say this year and the amount of industrial companies that were there. So you think of Cat, you think of Deere, you think of like some of those companies that I wouldn't naturally been in a truly consumer B2C type arrangement. You see more B2B players there this year, I felt. So whether it was mobility, whether it was the air mobility, mining, marine, space, industrial, automation, robotics, just the vast amount and scale of some of these companies and what they're doing in their respective spaces was quite eye-opening and interesting to me.
Great, thanks. And some of those booths that you mentioned, the Cat, the Deere, they take up enormous spaces on the floor. So it's really cool to get down there next to a tractor or one of the bulldozers and see it at scale. Mm-hmm. Andrew, for your view on power electronics. So what do you view on power electronics and what's needed to really enable the EV transition? We saw so many EV players out on the floor and EV charging solutions. So where do we need to go with power electronics in this space?
So the power electronics play an important role in delivering electrical power from the grid to battery and then to motor that moves the car. So with the battery range being one of the key enablers of EV transition, I mean, the efficiency of the power electronics becomes much more important than before. So traditionally in other industrial applications, I mean, silicon-based power semiconductors such as IGBT have been used in power electronics products, but silicon carbide-based products are emerging as a mainstream solution for EV powertrain, especially because of its energy efficiency. Silicon carbide devices are still 4 or 5 times more expensive than the traditional IGBT products, but it allows 5 to 10% improvement overall energy efficiency in EV powertrain and enables design of more compact power electronics modules, which reduces the weight of the vehicle, which in turn further improves the driving range. So I think these, because of these benefits, many companies are investing aggressively in the production capacities of the silicon carbide. And as a result, we expect to see prices go down in coming years and fuel wider adoption of the EVs.
Wonderful. And it'll be cool to see where the space goes and just what can we do next around those power electronics to make the EV transition a full-fledged reality and see it at scale. We've got about 2 minutes left, so we'll try and sneak 2 questions in here that we had. Many questions around generative AI and AI broadly. So Konstantin, which use cases do we really see for generative AI, and how do we think about the use cases that really will drive real benefit in the coming years?
I would suggest to think about it kind of in 2 dimensions or 2 ways to segment those cases. One is tech, and when you think about the underlying tech, it's pretty straightforward. There's text recognition, interpretation, and generation. There's 2D images, and there's 3D images. So today, the tech really allows working with text and kind of starting to foray into 2D images. When it comes to 3D images, not there yet. The other way to think about the use cases is everything that is kind of more of a commodity and things that are really, really unique. When we speak about commodity, I'll probably do some advertising for Microsoft. My honest belief is that next year, if you are going to be asked whether you use Copilot, it's the same as asking you whether you use Microsoft Word, Microsoft Office, Excel, whatever. It will be table stakes, and those are the things people need to go after. Truly differentiating use cases are going to be in the processes that are really unique to you, specifically things like product engineering. Very unique processes, and this is where you can really create differentiation.
Thanks, Konstantin. In so many different ways to apply AI, whether it's from your school homework or to these large-scale language models and automation, automated driving. So really appreciate your perspective there. And it looks like we're at time. Falk, I'll pass this over to you to close us out.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. Thank you to my colleagues, to Michelle, Andrew, Stefan, and Konstantin. Thank you for you coming, spending the time with us. If you would like to talk more, if you would like to chat, of course, reach out to us. There's a barcode. Otherwise, you'll probably easily find us with your AI-based browsing tools. So you can give us a call or come to our offices. Thank you for spending the time. For some of you, it's early in the morning. For some of you, it's late at night. We're really excited, as you can see, about this topic. And we found it, I personally found CES very, very inspirational. Even if you just go there to soak up the atmosphere and get inspired for the year. And we're not paid to do advertisement for them, so that's a genuine opinion here. Thank you to this 롤란버거 seminar, and we'll hope to see you next time.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Wonderful day.